Welcome back to Studio 5. It's a basic brown texture taking over the design world. If you've picked up the latest Pottery Barn catalog, you've likely noticed it's all about the burlap. Once associated with only mountain country decor, this sack is making a serious style statement in all sorts of themes. And a Studio 5 Trend Alert contributor, Christine McKay, says this is a trend to try. It doesn't have to be the country rugged. It can be elegant and even upscale.
And that's what I was just going to say, because burlap's nothing new in kind of the country decor, but like you just pointed out, it is everywhere, and it's in the elegant, the formal. In fact, one of the things that inspired this segment was I was looking at this couch, and it was in a really formal, beautiful room with a chandelier. It was this burlap couch, and it was $5,000
for a burlap couch.
For a burlap couch.
You are kidding me.
I am not. And so it kind of inspired me to start thinking of how can I bring that trend and make it a little less expensive, but not necessarily country chic, but make it a little more elegant. So the first thing I decided to do is I thought, I like the $5,000 couch, but trendy is something that kind of comes and goes. So I decided to take a bench that I had. I'd actually picked up at a yard sale for about $10. It was just this old junked up.
A little cheaper than the $5,000 couch.
A little bit cheaper. And so what I did is I went ahead and I took some burlap. And let me just mention really quickly, is you can buy genuine burlap sacks online. You can get them from eBay, or you can get them. Just Google it, and they're actually feed sacks that you can purchase. What I decided to do is I created my own, and we'll talk about that in a minute, how you can make your own custom stencils for the burlap. But I covered the top with burlap, and then I paint at the bottom just a nice shiny black, and then to trim it off with a little bit of an elegant touch, so kind of stepped away from like the country look, is I did a little bit of beaded fringe around the top. Doesn't it? And when I was done, it was one of those things that you know, I looked at and I was like, wow, I really like that. It was so simple.
Proud.
I was actually proud. It was a proud moment.
And rightfully so. That's darling.
And the burlap is so inexpensive. It's anywhere from $1.50 to $2 a yard for burlap. You can get it in all sorts of different weaves. You can get like a really coarse weave all the way up to a fine weave. You can also get it in all sorts of different colors.
And one of our producers, Stephanie, says she's seeing it front and center at the fabric stores. People are catching
on. Overnight. And I think it is because it is so inexpensive, and yet with a little bit of paint, you can stencil it and really update it. This right here is a good example.
I love this.
Isn't that fun?
Darling.
I love French country. That's what a lot of my home is done in. So I decided to stick with the black toile. And then, as you know, not a big sewer, but you know what, Brooke? I sewed this all by myself. I just took 2 pieces of fabric, sewed a square, and then I, of course, used my favorite tool, which would be fabric glue.
Yes.
And put the burlap on the front. And I made a custom stencil. And let me just talk about this for a minute, because pretty much all the projects I have here today are stenciled. There are all sorts of different stencils on the market that you can buy that just come in the regular acetate plastic, but I found a really great way. Now, the personal cutters like the Cricut are all the rage in the crafting industry. Love the Cricut. However, my favorite personal cutters would be the ones that you can hook up to your computer that read a true type font, and that would be like the Silhouette or the Wishblade. There's also a piece of software that you can purchase that's called a font creator. So basically what you can do is you can take any image and you can turn it into a font, which these personal electronic cutters read.
So what's an example
of that? So all of these right here, this would be an example. All this is, Brooke, this is cardstock that I scanned in this image right here, turned it into a font so the cutter would read it, and then I simply cut it out. And then all you do is you take a little bit of spray adhesive, and this is a technique that you'll want to use regardless of any surface that you work with, and you just put it on like that, and all it is just cardstock.
So your printer cut that shape out for you?
Yeah, your personal cutter cuts that out for you, and then you just take a stencil brush, and this is really important. I'd say probably the 2 most important tools in any of these projects are the stencil adhesive and the stencil brush. And all you'll do is you just really quickly, I mean, look how quick this is. You just daub it on.
So the type of paint doesn't really matter, just a basic craft paint?
There are 2 different kinds of paint. This right here is just a craft paint. And the reason why I chose this one is because it dries so quickly. Look at that.
That
totally
is so
easy
clean and chic.
Everything here I did using either pre-purchased stencils or ones that I made on my personal cutter. I personally have a Wishblade. You mentioned the types of paints. Acrylic paint dries really quickly, but sometimes it's a little runny. If you're doing a really big project, this is great. It's stencil paint, and it's almost like it's really thick, and so it's not going to bleed or run under the stencil. This is wonderful for big projects. Just moving right along, just the ideas are endless. In the front, I have a little banner that I did for Valentine's Day.
And that's a new twist on a popular project.
Isn't
a lot of people
that fun?
have the paper banners.
Yes. Go burlap. And this right here is just to show that you can do any color of ink. It doesn't have to be black. I used a lot of black because it kind of goes with the French country.
And the black pops out.
It pops so much, but you can use any color. I went ahead and I made some placemats. And my kids wanted to know if I was going to start referring to them as numbers because they each have a place setting now. Number 1, number 2, number 3.
What a cute idea, though.
And so you can do this. I also made some coasters, and you can feel, Brooke, the coasters are a little bit, they're stiffer because you'll want it to be a little more hardy to set your drink on. And all I did to make those stiff, and you can do this with any of the burlap, is I just used a fabric stiffener, and you just dilute it with water to make it a little easier to apply.
Cute. You've got a whole table space right there.
Isn't that fun?
Tell me about this project.
Okay, this one was really fun. And this one just goes to show, because you can kind of see where my ink went off the stencils a little bit.
Right.
It's okay. That's what's so fun about the burlap, is it just kind of gives it kind of fun, kind of grungy feel. This is just an old, it was just an old pressboard piece of artwork that I had that was just hideous. And so I covered it with the burlap. This right here I added because it goes on the particular wall that I was using it for. But
the wire hanger there on the top?
Yeah, do you know what this is? It's a garden hedge that I got from the dollar store.
No way.
It totally is. And so I just went ahead and hot glued it right to the back.
Perfect.
And then cut out the stencils just like I showed earlier and just put those on there. And I think it's fun to use a bunch of different fonts. And you can create any motto, any saying. You can customize any room.
Darling.
Isn't that fun?
This I want in my laundry room.
Okay. This right here, this idea you can take and use with anything. It's just a jar wrap. And this just says odds and ends. It's just a basic, I think it's a salsa jar with a little wooden knob.
Really cute.
You can take this idea and do it for gifts. You can put it around a candle, put it around a loaf of bread, put it around, you know, any kind of jar or anything. It just adds just such a fun little trendy pop.
Christine, great ideas and ways to incorporate this trend into your home in inexpensive ways. As
Inexpensive
you said,
ways.
They come and go. Christine, thank you so much.
Thank you.
More ideas and inspiration, you can check out kmckdesigns.com. That's Christine's blog, and we'll link you there from our website. We'll send it to Darren.
Thanks, Brooke.